Okay, talking about Berlin Wall today. We're into the 60s. This is actually a fallout from World War II. Okay, the Cold War is alive and well. Okay, this is part of what takes place. Okay.
It's freezing. It's freezing.
All right, Berlin was was an unusual city at the end of World War II. It had actually, the city itself had been divided. Okay, remember, Germany was divided in half. East Germany, and West Germany. East Germany was controlled by Russia and becomes communist. West Germany is being helped by France, Great Britain, and the United States. They are free. Okay, they could elect their own government, the whole bit. But the country was pretty basically split right across. Berlin sits about 100 miles into communist territory. Berlin was the capital. But the city was split. So even though you got East Berlin is communist, West Berlin is free, even though it is surrounded by communist territory. Okay, so in order to get to it, you've actually got to go through territory that is controlled by Russia to get to West Berlin. So this city's a little different. It's not like it was sitting right in the middle of the country and they just split it that way. It is actually in communist territory. Okay? So, still for the people of Berlin, though, the life gradually returned back to normal. People went to work each day, they went to movies, they went to dances, they visited friends and families. The dividing line wasn't a problem. So families could actually go back and forth between the lines and visit relatives. People from East Berlin would often cross into West Berlin, where the shopping and the entertainment was better, because the United States and these other countries are actually putting money into West Berlin to try to build it back up. Russia, not so much on the East Berlin, okay? So they would cross over into West Berlin in order to shop, go to entertainment, things like that. Many of the workers who lived in the East, actually their job was on the west side of the city. Probably just the same way it was before the war happened and the city was divided up. Okay? It's kind of like living on East Greensboro, but working out near the airport, okay, which is in the western part. Okay? So you would just drive, instead of moving and living near where you were, you just got a job up here, you just drive back and forth. They did the same thing.
Isn't like New Jersey
Okay?
and New York City? You work in New York City, but you live in New Jersey?
Well, yeah, that's two different states, though.
Dang, that's like a long
Okay? Now,
About an hour. About an hour. But still, and have an underground.
I'm sorry, we're not talking about New Jersey and New York. That's not what we're talking about right now. Okay? Something else was happening in Berlin too. Many people were crossing the line from East Berlin to West Berlin and not coming back. They liked it over in the western part better.
It was better.
Okay? So these people were considered refugees, and they were leaving their homes in East Germany to find a better life in the West. Well, that doesn't sit real well with the communist leaders. Because you start losing people, that's not good. Okay? But no one really wanted to live in a communist state at this point in time. Okay? So West Berlin was prospering with aid from the United States. The cities were rebuilding. Modern shops, theaters are springing up. Good jobs were created. More and more people decided to cross the line forever. So by 1961, as many as 2,000 people were leaving East Germany every week and coming to West Berlin, okay, to get away, because they don't like the way they're doing without stuff in the East. So people are leaving the east and coming into the western part of the city. Okay? And that's not just from the East Berlin, that is from the entire eastern bloc there is coming to West Berlin. Okay, because once you get to the city, you're kind of protected, right? So, the rest of the border between East and West Germany was closed, so refugees came to Berlin. They could just walk or ride right across the line with other residents in the busy city. Okay, so they had guards, they had fencing and stuff up already along the countryside to keep people from being able just to cross that way. But if you went to the city, you could just walk right across. So that's what people were doing. Okay?
So basically, it's just like, all right. So this is East, this is West. You got colonies, you got America. You can just walk across and be
Can you
fine.
just let him finish?
Okay? And this was a problem for East Berlin because it was losing its citizens and it was losing the workers that it needed. Okay? All right.
Good job.
Okay? Now, so the leaders of East Berlin came up with a solution. And this is pretty remarkable. They kept the idea secret until one night in August of 1961. Then, while the people of Berlin slept, they put their plan into action and they built a wall across the center
One night.
of Berlin. My guess is they had the wall built, they bought it in and set it up in one night. That's my guess. They did
But
not go
wasn't
out there
it-
with
what was it
hammer and
made
nails
of?
and start building a wall.
So for number 7, it's
Okay?
the original wall is built.
Okay? Now, I don't know what number 7
You
is.
didn't know.
That's your homework, not mine. Okay?
While they slept, there's something.
In the morning, people awoke to find the city was cut in half. They could no longer cross town to visit or to shop or to work. So if you lived in the east and worked in the west, you didn't have a job anymore. You couldn't get there. Okay? If you had family members that lived in the west, but you lived in the east, you couldn't go visit them anymore.
They woke up and they're like, oh,
That was it. If your mom and dad lived on the west, you lived in the east, or vice versa, there was a good chance you would never see them again.
So they just
Okay.
wake up and they're like, oh, there's
Now,
a wall.
so families could no longer see relatives who lived only a few miles away. Workers who had commuted to the West Berlin woke up to find that they no longer had jobs. Okay? So over the next several months, the wall was built stronger and higher. Through the years, it was rebuilt several times. Finally, the wall was not just a wall, but a whole series of barricades. Okay?
It's pretty juicy.
First, there was a 12-foot high wall on the border between the east and the west. 12-foot high wall. Beyond that wall was a brightly lit area known as the Death Strip.
The Dutch.
Okay? Hey, this is not anything to joke about. These people actually lived this. Okay? You're sitting in a nice, safe classroom where you've never been exposed to anything like this. We shouldn't be sitting here giggling and laughing. People lived this. Okay? This is not funny. It's not funny at all. Yes?
So before the wall was built, did they just not move like to the other side?
Once the wall went up, well, yeah, before the wall went up, they could, but who knew a wall was going up,
The Russians.
right?
I did.
Russians don't live in this city.
On 8,
I'm not answering
there's
that
2
homework
though.
question.
There's 2 answers.
Right now, I'm two. Okay? All right. Guards at the wall were trained to shoot without warning any refugee caught in this area. There was then trenches designed to stop any vehicle that might try to get through. So they dug out deep trenches so you couldn't run a car and try to avoid getting shot and run through the wall. Okay? There was a track for patrol vehicles. And then there was a second wall.
What?
There was 300 watchtowers where guards kept watch every day.
What?
And that was not to keep people from the west from coming east. It was to keep the people in the east in communist territory. So, be quiet. So when people talk to you about how wonderful communism is, this is communism. They keep their workers in place because their workers is what supplies the dictators with what they need. Okay?
While the workers are starving.
While the workers are going without. People in East Berlin now lived under the economic system of communism. They could not find good jobs like they had once had in the West. Supplies became scarce, and the economy grew worse. West Berlin also has a problem. It is now cut off more than ever from the rest of the Western world. Okay? All right, go up a little bit. More than 100 people were shot and killed trying to escape over the wall, and it would be 28 years before that wall came down. Okay? Now, tomorrow we're going to talk about the Berlin airlift. That's a pretty unique little situation also. Okay? All right. Bye-bye. Not quite as long as science, huh?